Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs. So guys, today I'm going to talk about one very important topic with respect to Selenium running on Google Cloud Platform. And we will be using technologies like Dockerized containers, and then we will be using Kubernetes to scale up the containers. Very important topic if you're really looking for something advanced topics in Selenium infrastructure, how to execute your test cases on Google Cloud Platform. In fact, the similar kind of infrastructure you can set up on AWS and Microsoft Azure as well, because you need to understand what you mean by Kubernetes cluster and how to spin up multiple Docker containers via Kubernetes, and then how to execute your Selenium test cases over here. So we will be using Selenium WebDriver with Java with TestNG, and we will set up one Selenium GRID hub server using Docker and Kubernetes on Google Cloud Platform. So we will be using Kubernetes Engine over there, Engine services we will be using, and let's see how to do that. So just to give you an overview that what exactly we are going to do. So this is a typical GCP Kubernetes cluster engine where we have different Kubernetes masters are available, and then we are going to create one master which is connected to multiple nodes. So we can create multiple nodes, and node is nothing which is connected to the Kubernetes master. So in Kubernetes there are two important, I would say, components. One is master and one is node. So master is connected to multiple nodes. It could be connected via load balancer, and multiple masters also can be connected via load balancer. And then multiple nodes, inside these nodes a pod and the VM and the containers are running, where in which that particular container your application is running over there. So if you see the overall picture, this is what I'm going to say, that we will be using a TestNG, and we will send the request to the Kubernetes cluster, and the cluster will send the request to the hub, and we will configure this particular hub IP address and the URL in my script, and then we will execute on the multiple pods. Every pod will behave like a node. I would say that in that particular node, one pod and a VM and a container running on it, and then we will say that okay, yeah, we will be using Zalenium in that case, and we will be running Zalenium test cases on this particular cluster. So the configuration will be like that, we will set up the hub using Zalenium. Zalenium is again open source tool which provides scalable Selenium hub capability, where we will be using different nodes like that, and every node will be having a specific browser and the Dockerized container running on that particular node. Very interesting topic, easy to know, easy to configure, and if you are looking for something like this in your company as well, you can set up over there, right? So another use case that you can create, like this is just another use case that you can create Jenkins master, and you can send the request to the Kubernetes master and then send the request to the multiple nodes, and every node is having one pod, one container, and contain on this particular container your Jenkins slaves are running. So that is another configuration. I'm not going to cover this particular design, but this is another example of Kubernetes master. You can use it to create Jenkins master slave configuration, and the slaves are available on multiple nodes. Okay, so without wasting our time, let's go to Google Cloud Platform. So you have to log in and you have to select your project over here. How to create login, how to select the project, how to create, what are the different GCP resources and services are available. I have already explained in my previous videos. Please go and check it over there. Now what you have to do, you have to go to Kubernetes Engine, that is another compute service. You have to go to cluster. So in Kubernetes, the first thing is that we have to create a cluster, and then simple click on create cluster over here. Now in that particular cluster, as I shown you in the diagram, that you can create multiple nodes if you want. So right now, let's say I'm going to create one or two nodes. That is more than enough for me. So what you can do, you can give your cluster name. Let's see, I'm giving my cluster name is Zalenium, right? And in which region you want to, in which zonal and regional you want to select, you can select your nearest zonal. So let's say I'm selecting US Central. You can select Mumbai also if you are in India, or whatever, it's up to you, it doesn't matter. And then I'm simple going to a default pool over here. So I'm simple click on add node pool, and then one pool one will be created, and go to nodes over there. So here we can select the multiple nodes, that how many nodes you want to select. So let's say I'm saying number of nodes, I want 3 nodes, which is like enough for this particular demo point of view. And node name is, let's see, pool 1. And then I simply say that go to nodes, what kind of series you want. So I simply say that okay, N2 Intel machines I want, and then you simply click on create. In that particular, you can configure a number of pods per node. You can configure minimum pod you can create in a particular node 8. Okay, so you can see that okay, it's somewhere. Let me refresh this once again. So it will take some time to create this particular cluster. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me just delete this particular cluster. Okay, let's create a one new brand cluster once again. So this is a default node. Let's see, I'll go to once again N2 and yeah, and then first you have to give the name Zalenium, and in the default, yeah, first you have to create this particular default pool. You can create for a few seconds while it's creating this particular Zalenium cluster. Okay, so is it still creating in this particular location? So the guys architecture will be like that. The design I'm going to create, that we will be writing one script over here. This will be my script in Selenium, and my Selenium script, I'll be using the remote WebDriver concept over here, remote WebDriver, and we will be using some desired capabilities that we will be passing, and through the remote WebDriver we will be passing the hub URL. So whatever the Zalenium hub URL will be there, its IP address and the port number we will be passing. I'll show you in the code, don't worry about that. And then we will send the request to where? To the Selenium hub, which is available on the Kubernetes cluster. So this is my Selenium hub, and then hub is connected to multiple nodes over here like that. Okay, so how to create the hub and all those things that I'm going to tell you after that. Okay, so the code wise, okay, we have to use remote WebDriver and the desired capabilities. We have to pass the IP address and the port of that particular hub that we are going to create. So we will be getting the external IP address. We have to configure over there. So let's see how to configure that. So let's wait until this particular cluster is being created, and then we will continue. So click on Zalenium and you can check that okay, 67% is completed. It's checking the health checks also. Configuration and deployment process is already done. So let's wait for it. As I told you, it takes time. It takes around 4 to 5 minutes. So what is the advantage of having this Zalenium on Kubernetes containers? We will be having good scalability. We will be having less crashes. The speed up, the scalability also will be improved, no doubt about it. We can speed up and the performance of the execution. Okay, looks like it is done. We will go back to clusters, and you can see that okay, yeah, it's created. And then what we have to do, we have to select this, and then we have to connect. So when you click on connect, it say that command line access, and you have to configure kubectl, which is an API provided by Kubernetes, command line access by running the following command. So copy this particular command and run in Cloud Shell. So simply click on run in Cloud Shell. So when you run in Cloud Shell, you will see that okay, it will open one Cloud Shell over here, okay, at the bottom of the page. You can open in a new tab, or you can open in a new window over here. Let's see like that. Okay, then from the Cloud Shell, what you can do is you can execute your different commands by using the Google Cloud APIs, right? So what we have to do, we have to, whatever the copy that we have created, we just need to paste over here and then run it. So it will say that kubeconfig entry generated for Zalenium. Now there are certain commands that we have to use now. Okay, guys, so whatever the command that you have got it from here, right in the previous screen, you have to copy that command and then paste it over here and then run it. So you have to kubeconfig, okay, will be created in their environment variable. And then after that, what we have to do, we have certain commands. I'll show you those commands. Please follow. I'll share this command, these commands in the description also. So don't worry about that. First, we have to create one namespace over here. So I'm going to create one namespace. Let me clear the console, and then kubectl create namespace Zalenium. You can give any name. Let's say I'm giving Zalenium over here, and then it's saying okay, yeah, namespace got created. Just to verify that how many namespaces are there. So you can hit this command get namespace. So you can see that okay, this Zalenium, that custom namespace that we created is already there. Other than that, it's having own a default and system defined namespaces are already there. So we have to create the namespace. After that, we have to use helm. You can use other configurations also. I'm using helm repo, and we are going to clone this particular repo, which is provided by Selenium, guys. So let's copy this command and then simple use it. So it's saying that, okay, Zalenium GitHub has been added to your repository. So as a repository that we have to add, and then after that, we have to check that, okay, helm search repo Selenium, it's there or not. So you can see that, okay, yeah, it got created. Chart version is 3.141.59 and chart for Selenium grid, okay, which is provided by Zalenium, guys. Now after that, we have to copy this particular command. Now if you see this particular command, we have to deploy that install. You can give whatever the release name that you want to give. My namespace is Zalenium, and this is the GitHub Zalenium repository that we have already cloned. Then we have to write service type is equal to load balancer is important for the multiple nodes and multiple pods that are multiple nodes that you are creating. And then we have to authenticate also. So we have to write basic authentication is equal to true. And we have to set the username. Let's say I'm giving Naveen automation. So when we log in into Zalenium, it will pop up, enter your username password, and the password I'm writing like this. So we will copy this entire thing and then simple come over here and paste and then run. So after a few seconds, it will create this particular instance on Google Cloud, and you can see that some information over there that namespace is Zalenium, status is deployed. It means the deployment is done. And this is a Zalenium, and release name is my-release, whatever the name that you have given over there earlier, this name. And then username is this, and the password is this. Okay, you have to use this particular username password in your script when you launch and when you send the request to the Zalenium hub. Right? Let me clear the screen. And next one is that I want to check that, okay, give me the service information about this particular Zalenium. So you will get all the network information about this is a cluster IP address. It means this is a cluster machine IP address, and external IP address is still pending. It takes few seconds to give the external IP. So just run this particular command once again. Now you got this particular external IP. Now it means my Zalenium is up and running now. And this is the external IP. You just need to copy. And now there are multiple commands provided by multiple URLs you have to hit to check that, okay, yeah, that my Zalenium cluster or Zalenium grid is up and running or not. So this is the IP address that we have got. I'll just copy this particular IP address over here like that. Okay. So the IP address is this. Okay, 99.123. Okay, and then yeah, like that. So you can see that external IP address 35.188.99.123, and I'm going to execute this particular URL. Hit this particular URL to check that, okay, Selenium dashboard is there or not. So open a new tab and let's see the Selenium dashboard. Awesome, Selenium dashboard is there. And then I'm going to check that, okay, admin live, that Selenium is live preview is up and running. Awesome. You can see that Selenium is up and running. So I'm not using typical Selenium through Docker containers running through my console and setting up over there. I'm using Kubernetes and then creating the clusters and the multiple nodes. And then inside a node, automatically these containers will be created by Selenium automatically. We don't need to do anything over here. It's super simple like that. And then if you really want to see the console, you can see that. So this is the console URL. You simply go to console if you really want to see. This is the grid console, you can see, right? This is a typical Selenium grid, and there are two nodes. You can see that one is this and one is this. Both are Linux, and then we have Chrome 85, Firefox 80, and Chrome 85, Firefox 80 are connected with Selenium grid over there. Now this is the hub URL that we will be getting. That hub URL we have to configure in our script. Now we will go to our script, and what we have to do now in the script, it's pretty simple. I have created one, let's see, source test over here. If you remember that I created this for Source Labs and Browser Stack also. So I have written this particular simple, like this is the application I'm launching. We will log in, and then there are certain test cases. I'm doing it over here. But how exactly the browser will be launched? I'm not launching a browser in my local machine in my laptop. We will go to this particular base test. Now see it carefully. I'm simple saying what is your browser name, get the method name at the runtime, which test method that you are running, and here remote URL I'm passing like that. Whatever the username password, this is my username, this is my password, and then this is the IP address that you have to use. The new IP address is this 35.188.99.123 WD hub URL that you have to pass. Similar kind of things, if you remember, we were doing with browser stack and source labs also. So this is a concept you have to understand whenever you are running your test cases on Selenium Grid. You have to get the hub URL like that. So this is my hub URL up to WD hub. There is no port actually, and then here we have provided the authentication also, right guys? So that you can access that. So when you hit this particular URL first time, the dashboard, right now I'm already logged in, so it will ask you to enter the username password. So whatever the username password that you have set it over here, this Naveen Automation or Zalenium 2000, you have to enter, then only you will be able to see the live dashboard. Okay, now after that I'm just adding these desired capabilities which are provided by Zalenium guys. So name is equal to method name, whatever I'm passing. Build number, let's say I'm passing 100. I'm simple writing 100.11, or let's say build number is 1.1. Whatever the build number, idle timeout 180, and then recorded video. Yes, I want to record the video. Your time zone is, let's say, Asia, Kolkata, whatever you can write. And then I'm using this particular concept, adding the capabilities over here, and then a driver equal to remote web driver, and the remote URL that you have got it over there, you have to pass it along with your capabilities. Right, so remote web driver is responsible to execute your test cases on Selenium Grid on a particular cloud grid that you have already set up. So this is very important. Now this remote URL could be anything. It could be for browser stack, it could be for source labs, lambda test. You have configured Selenium Grid on AWS EC2 machine or Google Cloud Platform or any DAM or in your local machine or in somewhere in your hardware also in your company. Ultimate target is you have to get your remote URL. That is your Selenium hub URL. You have to get it, right? And after that, nothing. That's it. You can get it from your configuration file also. That also I'll show you in some time. Now let's run this particular test. So I have created one testng.xml file where I'm just going to execute one test on Firefox, one test on Google Chrome. And these are the number of test cases I'm going to execute. You can see that simple. If you go to this particular application, the application is pretty simple. Let me just quickly show you the application also. When you go to this application, so let's say I'm using a standard user, is a username and the password is this. So I have to log in first, and I'm going to verify a couple of things, that how many items are there, the logo is there or not, then these social media links are available or not. So these are the number of test cases that I have written. See, total number of inventory items, add to cart button is there or not, then logo is there or not, social Twitter account, Facebook, and the LinkedIn, these three icons are available in the footer or not. So very simple test cases I just want to show you. We are not concentrating on the test cases, but just to get the good amount of test cases so that we can see the result and we can see the live execution over there. So that's why I have written like that. Now I'm going to execute this particular XML. So I'm going to execute this particular testng.xml file once again, and let's see what happens. So here you see the console. You can see that, okay, Chrome is running on this particular, so request is being sent to this particular hub URL, and then Firefox request is being sent to over here, and browser is not getting launched in my laptop. Then I'll check it over here, and then I'll see Zalenium. See, you can see that 4 containers are running over here, and you can actually see your live execution. See, awesome. Source Labs is getting executed on this particular machine, right guys? So see, the Chrome is busy over here, Chrome is busy over here, and then Firefox is busy on this particular container. So likewise, you can execute all your test cases and you can see the result over here. One by one, my test cases are absolutely working fine. At the same time, you can see the dashboard also. You can just simply refresh this particular page and you can see that check add item button live. You can play the video once again. It took around 6 seconds. Standard user and checking. That's it. Simple add to cart is there or not. Same thing, you can check this inventory that we run it. It took around 7 seconds and there is a video is running over here. What else you can do? You can maximize the video. You can download that particular video also, and picture also, that you can see that. And then as I told you, running by default on 85. and in Asia, Kolkata. These are all configurable. You can do that. Okay, see all the social Twitter test also it's running, social Facebook test also running, social Twitter test also running over here like that. So, and you can see the live preview on these. And once everything is done, automatically your containers will be disconnected. And you can see the result report also. All 6 test cases got passed without any problem. This is pretty awesome, right? And you can see the TestNG results. Everything got passed over here. So like this, we have to execute our test cases on Selenium GRID using Zalenium, which is running on my Kubernetes cluster over there inside the Google Cloud platform. So this is how we have to set up the infrastructure, which is very important to know, because in real-time projects, we are not going to use the local machine. We are not going to use our local machine to set up the Selenium GRID. We have to use some infrastructure. We have to set up, and you should know about it. And you have to take some help from your DevOps team. You can give your inputs that, okay, yeah, this is what we can do that. Or maybe they can give you one project on Google Cloud Platform, and then you have to set up everything over there. And the same thing, if you're explaining about your cloud execution and about your infrastructure on cloud at the time of interview, if you're explaining, that is giving a very good impression. It shows that, okay, yeah, this guy has some knowledge about it. Okay, so running simple things on your, see the test case is still running. Okay, because obviously it's a little slow because the machine and the RAM that I have taken and the network also, I'm passing the from my local and somewhere in US region. So obviously execution is still delay, but you can see the dashboard result. Everything is written over here, and the test cases are already done. You can but still see the preview over here. Now it is disconnected. So there is a delay in sending the response to the dashboard, but that's fine, right? So guys, this is something important. This is what you have to learn. This is what you have to understand, that designing the framework is not a big deal. Anyone can do that. But how exactly you are going to execute on a specific cloud, on a specific a setup infrastructure, that is important. Okay. Now, one last thing quickly, I'll tell you that how exactly you have to configure the same thing in your page object model. Very simple. What I'm going to do, I've already created one page object model over here. I'll go to my base page.java, and inside this particular base page.java, I have already written this particular method. Initialize a driver. What I'm going to do that I'm going to maintain one config.properties, and I'll maintain my hub URL over here. Whatever the hub URL that you want to use, and then the remote is equal to true. So in this case, my hub IP address is this. Right, guys? When you get your IP address, you simple maintain this thing over here along with your username password. Right, so this is, let's see, I'm going to use not UA automation, I'm going to use Naveen automation and Selenium 2020 this and WD hub. And if the remote flag is equal to true, then only we have to execute on the Selenium cloud, sorry, on the Selenium cloud, on the Selenium infrastructure. Otherwise, you can simple run it in my local. So let's see, let's make remote equal to true, and then we will go to basebase.java, and then I'm reading this particular property over here, that initialize a driver, and I simple checking that over here that if the remote property is equal to true, then go to initialize remote web driver, and then let me just comment it out, these two things, because we are taking it from the properties file. And then instead of remote URL, I simple say that, okay, prop dot get property, and whatever the remote URL that you are using that you have already configured in your config.property. So this is my hub URL, I'll be using it, right? And same thing, I'm going to use it for this guy also in case of Firefox, and rest of the capabilities, okay, are same. If I by default capabilities I'm using it. So I just want to show that in page object model also, you simple maintain one flag over here, remote equal to true, and this flag if equal to true, then only execute on my Selenium cloud, otherwise execute in my local. So let's try this also if it is working or not. So let me just quickly check. I'm going to execute my testng regression.xml, where I have written some different application, and I'm running only login page test over there. So let's run it and let's see. Open the console, and then somewhere, yeah, Chrome and Firefox, it's running, and I'll go to my live preview. Let's refresh this preview and let's see. Yep, two containers, two test cases, one is Chrome and one is Firefox. You can see it's connecting automatically, and then its application is getting launched. You can see that hubspot.com, and it's just simple going to log in, and that's it. And then it will be automatically, browser will be closed and your container will be disconnected. See, it's entering the username. I've highlighted the element also by using the JavaScript so that we can see what is happening at the time of execution. So it's pretty awesome, guys. You can do this thing to run your test cases on the cloud. Now see, it's entering the username password, and then it will click on login button. You can decrease this highlight frequency. I have given around 50 so that you can see that, okay, yeah, execution is happening inside the Zalenium cloud. And you can see that this is WebDriver is interacting with this particular element over there. Okay, so once this is done, everything will be done. And you can see the report over here. See, execution is not running on my local machine. And you can see the logs over here. You can now execute from the Maven, from the Jenkins also, you can simply do that. And the result, you can see everything is 3 test cases are there. 3 test cases up there got passed over here without any problem, right? So you can see total number of test cases 3 plus 3, 6, 3 for Firefox and 3 for Chrome. Total 6 test cases got passed, and then both got disconnected now. Now, the moment I make it in config.properties, the moment I make it false, now it should not trigger the test cases on the Zalenium cloud. Now it should be executed on my local machine. So let's run it and let's see. Now the browser should launch in my local. Can you see that? See, somewhere it got opened. See, Firefox got opened. Okay, although my .exe files got deprecated, that's why. But you can see that, okay, Firefox got opened over here. Although test cases are not running because it's saying something. Path is not system property path I have to set over there. Okay, but that's okay. That's not the important thing. What I'm saying is that you simply run it in your local when you are doing practice, because every time you are not going to execute on your cloud machine. So you just make it true whenever you want to make it, and that's it, and trigger your test cases on the cloud. That's it. Once your work is done, what you do, you go to your Google Cloud Platform, disconnect with the Cloud Shell, and then simply leave it, and then go back. And then once your work is done, and if you really want to turn it off, what you do, simple, select this and then delete this particular cluster. So when you delete it, simply click on delete. Your cluster will be shut down. And the moment you come over here, you refresh this, after some time, it will, okay. So it takes some time to delete because it will delete the nodes and then it will delete the cluster. And yeah, and on the basis of your uses, Google Cloud will, okay, give you the billing accordingly, right? But we have $300 for 90 days. So that is without any problem, we can use that. So you simply refresh it. Once the cluster is down, it will be shut down automatically. That's it. Okay, guys. So this is what I really wanted to cover: how to set up the infrastructure for Selenium using Zalenium. You can do that, and I'm using Kubernetes Engine cluster to run my test cases on Google Cloud Platform. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching this particular video. If you have any issues, please put the comment over there, and please share this video as much as possible to different people who are actually really want to learn something new with respect to Selenium. And please learn these things. Only writing WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver won't help you. Designing part, everyone can do that. Now you have to set up the infrastructure also. That is another level you have to reach in automation. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for learning, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.